Welcome back everyone, DJ Tatsujin from Gamebaka here with more Vintage Hero. My wife and I just welcomed our second child into the world, so I apologize on the delay from part 1 to 2. Since launching the first video, the game's creator shared the video and I had a few people say they were on the fence about the game, but the video persuaded them to pick it up. Starting out with new content on the channel, that kind of feedback means more to me than immediately picking up thousands of views, so please continue to let me know what you think in comments on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Diving into the game, the second boss character we're going to go after is Minazor. Immediately you'll notice the environment has flipped from a hot-tone natural environment to an industrial area. Throughout the game, the level variation is exceedingly well done, and you'll see more examples of this as we continue onward. In this stage, the threat of falling onto or jumping into spike traps is a little more in your face, and the initial enemy selection of the bullets on sleds are quite aggressive as well. As a reminder, with this playthrough, not only am I playing on the hard difficulty, but I am also choosing to forego the level up mechanic. Normally I would be using experience points to boost my defense, weapon strength, and more, but I was curious to see if the game was able to be cleared without utilizing these options. As the green blob enemies split when killed, in most cases it is easier to just avoid them and move on. However, when you are in a pinch, the split sometimes potentially leaves behind 2 items instead of 1 to help you out. In my book, that makes them a touch more useful than the basic Slimes and Dragon Warrior. And speaking of the classics, since Vintage Hero nails the Mega Man style of game so well, if you haven't seen it yet, a co-designer of the Mega Man series now has a Kickstarter project live, building funds for a title in development, Mighty No. 9. And moving forward, we're going to run into a brand new obstacle here. These floating enemies not only fire projectiles at you, but they also act as platforms which the player must cross the area. The first batch is easily crossed, but much like many other elements of the game, you'll see them return in more precarious positions in order to challenge the player. Crossing the second set here, I'll openly admit I did not even see the slime on the floor, and getting clocked by it sends me back to the start, and I start this series of platforms over. At least for now, I had a safe floor to fall onto, but this won't be the case later on, as you'll see here beyond this 4th platform, you'll already see a small patch of spike traps waiting for me. Clearing over it here, though, climbing up we have more slimes, but also an opportunity to grab yet another energy tank style item over on the right there. These energy tanks will get me out of a few pinches later in the game, especially since I will not be leveling up my defense. And sliding over to the next area, we run into a mid-boss creature known as the Wub. The Wub has a predictable pattern, but it only takes damage in the eye. With no leveling to my weapon strength, this battle is going to take a little while, so in the interest of time, we're going to fast forward this battle a little bit. And trucking along, this fight is almost over. With a few more strikes to the eye, we're going to take down this enemy, and here we go, then it gives me 25 experience points that I am not going to use on this playthrough. Progressing through the stage, we are given a choice of path, and using the coil item, the player starts the game with, I'm going to choose the top, mostly because I want the extra life located toward the end. As I plot through the enemies, I should mention this series of videos has been edited to keep each spoiler free. When you play through Vintage Hero, there's a story that unfolds as players progress through the game. Not only is there an intro story, but cutscenes keep the narrative progressing in between each of the stages as well. There are a few characters that are integral to the story that do not appear throughout the game's stages. You may also have noticed at the beginning of each of my videos there is a hub for the player to retreat to between each stage. Not only does this allow you to talk to the other characters and access the teleporter to each stage, but it also allows you to adjust to the controls before starting the game and test out special weapons earned from the elementals. Approaching the final stretch, we are introduced to one last stage gimmick. These tidal bubbles indicate air is billowing from these fans, and this will boost our hero upward. We're closing in on the boss's lair, and this stretch positions these fans along our path. Here, mistiming when to leave the stream will sink us into a chasm or thrust us into spikes on the ceiling. That's bad either way, and when you factor in the aliens with jetpacks and smaller platforms to navigate, getting impatient in this section may cost players a life or 2. On a complete side tangent, these jetpacking aliens remind me of a very obscure game called Gasgar vs. Gasgar. It was a 1 vs. 1 space battle game developed on the PlayStation's Net Yaroze, which is essentially a PlayStation 1 development system made available to the Japanese public. The title was playable in the United States on one of the PlayStation Underground subscription discs, and the multiplayer was superb. Now we're knocking on Minazor's door, and we're going to break out the Magma Ball, a special weapon granted to us by defeating Grib Grab in Video 1. Minazor is an odd-looking boss, almost like the Fuji television logo, with a snorkel attached to it. Overall, this boss only has a few tricks up its sleeve. While it can fire single projectiles from the ground or spread shot from the air, it mostly relies on curling itself into a ball and trying to steamroll the player. The Magma Ball works nicely on this boss, but if I were leveling up my weapon attacks, these would be doing much more damage. And as he continues to steamroll, this is another fight that takes a couple of minutes, so I'm going to fast forward the gameplay in the interest of time. And while I was playing this, I was actually squashed by Minazor and lost a life during the battle, but going back in it will fall thanks to some more magma balls and a few final shots from the default weapon. Increased weapon energy is one of the items you can level up, so I do run out of magma balls here, and after fumbling through the weapon cycle, I give it a couple more shots and it brings it down, and we have now defeated 2 of the 4 stage bosses in Vintage Hero. This victory gives us yet another elemental, but more importantly a brand new weapon I'll be using to battle the next boss. That's now 2 stages down, putting us 1/3 through the game overall, and I haven't even leveled up yet. I'm feeling good at this point, but I also know if any of the first 4 stages could bring me down on this playthrough, it would be the one we're going to see in episode 3. As always, please share what you think about Vintage Hero in these videos on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. If you like what you see, Vintage Hero is available for $1 on Xbox Live Indie Game Service. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you when Vintage Hero returns on the Game of Baka channel.